Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Fear the Walking Dead, an unofficial podcast about the AMC original series Fear the Walking Dead. My name is Mufsin Mahbub and I've watched every episode of the series. So if you guys are tuning in to Fear the Walking Dead for the first time, what I basically do here is discuss everything up and including the current week's episode. This week, we'll be discussing everything up and including this week's episode, which is titled Pillar of Salt. To find more Here the Walking Dead podcasts, just go to film-book.com and search up the term Here the Walking Dead. You can also email us at podcast@film-book.com with Here the Walking Dead in the subject line. So, this week's episode, basically two important things. First, it did begin to establish what we can perhaps assume is the biggest problem that we have for the remainder of the season. Secondly, it also started the process of trying to reunite our main group. They didn't meet up just yet, but they are pretty much closer in proximity to one another than we initially thought. These were the most important things because splitting the characters up didn't really work as well for the most part. And there hasn't been any real central conflict that the survivors had to face, which left the second half of the season pretty flat. It's been a slow run, but I feel like things are starting to pick up. There were things that I did like and things that I didn't really like in this week's episode. What I liked was when Alicia stood up to her mother when Madison did what I thought was the second most dumbest thing that basically a mother would do during the zombie apocalypse. Basically by turning all the hotel lights and alerting everybody within like 20 miles of where they are. I mean, I liked that when Travis saw the lights on, he was traveling by himself. I mean, he did have the courage to pretty much ditch Chris the last time we saw him. I mean, that took really big guts to do, especially for someone who's as loyal and eager to help as Travis is. Because he was trying to connect with his son, but it didn't really work as much because basically Chris is one creepy guy, and the zombie apocalypse pretty much has changed him for the worse. What I also did like was the fact that we had these gangsters turning into more of a danger for Alejandro's community. I mean, it seems like Marco is pretty much being set up as this new big bad, and it will certainly bring a lot of violence into Nick's new home. What I did not like pretty much was every scene that Madison was in. I'm not saying that she is as terrible as Andrea is in The Walking Dead, but she is getting there with every passing scene that I got to watch. The scene at the warehouse was pretty much painful to watch for me. She pretty much screwed up the entire trip finding medicine for Strand, in order to find out more about whether her son was alive. And she ended up putting both her and Elena's lives at risk, just in the off chance that she would learn something about Nick. I mean, she wasn't even thinking for others, but just for herself, and that was purely stupid on her part. Following up on that was the hotel scene, and Alicia's very good response to it, which was really, really sick to my stomach. I thought the writers have done a really poor job trying to establish why any of us should care at all about Madison at this point. And they have done nothing to justify her place as either the main character of the show or, as a survivor. I'm not really sure where the show is going with the other ridiculous mother, the one who stabbed Strand for killing her daughter, even though, I mean, that lady was pretty much screwed up into something else really badly, and she nearly got the other hotel occupants killed. I mean, if it was up to me, I would definitely try to get her out of the hotel. Kick her out of the room because she poses a danger to pretty much everybody else. I mean, she wasn't in her right mind. I mean, she's a grieving mother, but still, she was pretty much out of it. Now, moving over to Nick's storyline, Nick continued to be pretty much a huge waste of time. And it was pretty unfortunate because Fear the Walking Dead managed to take one of the show's best characters and made him entirely bad. Entirely stale, I should say. I mean, between that and killing Daniel, I mean, we don't even know if he is dead. We pretty much lost like two of the best characters, in my opinion. The episode pretty much opened up with this small family trying to escape the community and pretty much was immediately caught by some gangsters. I mean, I haven't really felt anything like that in a while on this show, where you had, gripping onto your seat, hoping that this family makes it out alive. But, I mean, danger is everywhere, and it's not just the zombies. In any case, this did reveal that Alejandro is pretty much a dictator than we have already realized, since people can't even leave the community by choice, and they would have to sneak out. I mean, we are getting the sense that Alejandro is pretty much paranoid at this point, though not crazy enough to realize that not allowing anyone to leave to take Oxy to the gangsters in exchange for water and supplies would backfire. But then again, his paranoia may be justified. I mean, these bad guys were able to spot Nick at the end of the episode. I mean, those days of hiding peacefully behind a wall of zombies might soon come to an end. And it's probably going to be bad news for Nick and Luciana, whose romance started to come together. Finally, we did discover that Ophelia's actually alive and off on her own for some reason. We did get a bit of a backstory about her meeting her fiancé that she never ended up marrying, and we got a brief scene between her and her mom. I mean, I'm not really sure where this is going, but I really hope that she really finds her father and that he's alive somewhere. I mean, Ophelia leaving doesn't really make that much sense, since it simply just divides the cast even further away, leaving the narrative much more scattered. For the main part, Pillar of Salt was pretty much a better episode that we got to see this season than we saw during this back half of season 2. But still, the show does remain a little slow-paced and slogs at some points. But it does leave a hint of direction of finally coming out after 12 or so episodes. The majority of these characters remain uninterested and they're still pretty much underdeveloped. But hopefully the plot picks up pace next week and we finally get to see some real action, because right now this spin-off is not living up to its potential, especially for this sophomore season. But that doesn't mean that it can't get any better. It just means that there's a lot of work that needs to be done to make the show as entertaining and scary as it should possibly be. I mean, just adding fear in the title doesn't mean that it's going to be as amazing as the original series. And, we haven't even gotten frightened in a long time. But hopefully we get to see some of that come to fruition during these last few episodes of the season. But that's it for me, guys. Thanks for listening to this episode of Here the Walking Dead. You can find more of my work on film-book.com. Just search up my name, Mufsin Mahbub, or you can search up this podcast, Here the Walking Dead. If you guys have any comments for me, you can also send me a tweet. My Twitter handle is MufsinNY. If you guys are listening to this podcast on iTunes or another podcast service, please rate and review this episode and give us those 5-star ratings. If you are listening to this podcast on our YouTube channel, FilmBookCast, please like our video, subscribe to our channel, and even leave us a comment in the comment section. So tune in next week when we review the latest episode of Fear the Walking Dead. Thanks for listening, Dead Walkers. We'll see you next time.